We begin in the Philippines, where millions have begun voting for a new president. Polls suggest the son of former dictator Ferdinand Marcos is headed to win the high-stakes election. Across the archipelago, with a population of more than 109 million, over 65 million Filipinos are eligible to vote and elect a new president, a new vice president, 12 of the 24-seat Senate and members of the House of Representatives. Also, over 18,000 national and local positions are up for grabs. Filipinos thronged primary schools and other polling stations to elect a new president. People wearing masks began forming long queues before dawn to cast their votes when polling stations opened. More than 60,000 security personnel have been deployed to protect polling stations and election workers. Hours before voting began, 9 people were wounded when 5 grenades exploded outside a polling station. The attack happened late Sunday in Mindanao Island in the southern Philippines, which is a haven for multiple armed groups. There are 10 candidates running for the presidential election, including the son of former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. And also the incumbent Vice President Leni Robredo. In the Philippines, the winner only has to get more votes than anyone else. Polls showed Marcos Jr. heading for a landslide. He had a double-digit lead over Robredo in the latest service. While Marcos Jr. had a 75% chance of winning, analysts say the outcome is not guaranteed. If victorious, it will be the return of the Marcos family to power, 36 years after they were toppled in a popular uprising and the family chased into exile. The winner of Monday's election will take office on June the 30th for a single 6-year term. The new president stands to inherit problems including a pandemic-battered economy, deep poverty, and the legacy of a brutal anti-drugs crackdown. Journalist Ben Kritz is now joining us live from Manila. Ben, welcome to WION. If the polls are anything to go by and Marcos Bongbong Jr. wins the elections, what would this victory mean for the Philippines?
It's really hard. It's really hard to say. It would mean, I think, first of all, some soul searching in terms of the nature of the government and you know, the way democracy is run here, because he and his top contender, Vice President Robredo, have run entirely different campaigns. He has not participated in any of the presidential debates, generally shuns interviews with the press, and has run his campaign totally, almost totally on social media, using a large number of what we think are mostly volunteer people to pass his message along, whereas Robredo's campaign has been very volunteer-driven, drawing massive crowds to rallies, people going door to door to canvass for her. You know, so there's two very different things going on, and it is actually, although the polls indicate a pretty strong chance for Marcos, it is actually kind of up in the air because there is some conflicting evidence. So we just really don't know how it's going to turn out right now.
Ben, how important is succession for Duterte?
And that's one thing that divides the country. He does have a strong support among the public. However, he has there is a very strong dissent against the way he's governed over the past 6 years. So I think probably what would be best for unifying the country would be something different. If the eventual winner is seen too much as continuing his programs, I think it's gonna cause a lot of division in the country. That's just my sense.
The country's foreign policy is also crucial in this election and for the future of the country. What are your predictions of how it will look like if Marcos Jr. takes power?
If Marcos takes power, I would expect a closer relationship with China, and probably a cooling off of relations with the U.S. and the West, which is actually probably has more to do with Marcos personally and and his history than it does, his actual policies, which I should point out are very unclear. He has not really given, a detailed platform on, various areas of governance. Some idea, but not so clearly as some of the other candidates have.
Ben, let's talk about what's at stake for the Philippines. Give us a brief of how each candidate would rule when they are declared the winner.
Okay, I believe Marcos would be more of an authoritarian, top-down kind of ruler, as would some of the other candidates that are running that really have no chance. So we're really just talking about Marcos and Robredo. Robredo she's an economist and a development lawyer by profession, and would be much more social oriented. Probably, I would say actually probably weaker on foreign policy, but stronger on social programs than Marcos would be. Whereas Marcos would probably focus more on foreign policy, continuing the infrastructure program, and law and order type of issues. Marcos would be closer to Duterte, although it would be wrong to call him Duterte's successor.
Finally, we are being told that 3 security guards have been shot dead at one of the polling stations. This is after gunmen opened fire in southern Philippines. Are election times traditionally a volatile time for the country?
Oh yes. The campaign period, and especially the actual election, tends to be extremely chaotic, and we are getting a lot of reports today. There was just a report a few minutes before I came on the air about a polling station that was attacked in Mindanao, and the voting machines and ballots destroyed. There are widespread reports of problems with the voting machines. People are having a hard time getting their votes registered. And this is all being aggravated by the fact that there appears to be a huge turnout. Voter turnout is generally always very good here in the Philippines, but this seems to be bigger than usual. As you noted at the beginning, there's about 67 million registered voters, and many of them, more than half of them are young voters, and so the turnout is very, very high. And with the technical problems and things like that, and it's hard to say. I think this is kind of normal, given how big the exercise is, but it is really kind of making things a little bit difficult.
We'll have to end it there. Thank you very much, journalist Ben Kritz, for your insights today and for talking to WION.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.